myths, tales, legends. And history shows that the drawing has played just as crucial a part in satisfying that basic need as the word. But there's a big difference between what happens when you tell a story and what happens when you draw it. And I think the great French artist Henri Matisse put his finger on it when he said that whereas the writer has to use the shared language of speech, every artist uses his own self-invented visual language. So every element of every story that he draws out is shot through with his own personality and idiosyncrasies. In this program, I'll be looking at some of the true masterpieces of narrative graphic art, from past and present, east and west. But I'll also be trying to build a kind of psychological profile of the storytelling artist, to find out what makes them really tick. Using drawing to tell a story perhaps brings out the darker side. Or maybe it's simply that the type of characters attracted to the laborious, intricate, almost monk-like sphere of drawn narrative tend to be introspective, edgy, loners even. I'm going to start my journey in America because it's one of the main homes of the comic book tradition. And it's also the home of a man whose work makes me cringe and laugh out loud. But he can be hard to track down for an interview and prefers to let his work speak for itself.
Hello? Yeah, this is Mr. Clowes. I don't know. It's not the kind of thing I normally want to do, so... But anyway, thank you for your interest, though. I appreciate it. Appreciate it if you didn't call me so much. Hello. Now what? All right, look, if we can do it like in an hour, I'll do it. But really, I have no more time than that. And you can't, like, you know, put pinholes in my wall. You can't have a whole bunch of people stomping through the house. That's it. 1 hour. Okay, bye.
Daniel Clowes made his reputation with the hugely successful book Ghost World. It's the epitome of his strangely expressive drawing style, matter-of-fact pared-down images, where little gestures and details stand out, a knowing glance, a bored stare. If Edward Hopper had written comic books, they might have looked like this. And Clowes stands out because of the precision of his drawing in relation to his subject matter, the ennui and confusion of 21st century American life, seen through the eyes of two cynical teenagers.
Enid and Rebecca are my meal tickets. They've taken me this far, those two girls. Enid is very much the kind of girl I knew in art school, who's a girl who kind of hates everything, and Rebecca's kind of the enabler, you know, the sidekick character that those kind of girls always seem to have. And I used to run into that kind of tandem a lot, especially in art school. They really stick together and they really need each other kind of desperately, and they really desperately want to be each other. To me, it just seemed like a natural tandem to write about.
Clowes' fluent drawing style often evokes an innocent, wide-eyed America of apple pie and ice cream, a knowing counterpoint to the darkness of what he really has to say. Ghost World propelled Clowes to international cult stardom. But before that, his ongoing strip 8 Ball had already been the most talked about underground comic series of the 90s. Issue number 1 was aptly subtitled An Orgy of Spite, Vengeance, Hopelessness, Despair and Sexual Perversion. It's a scathingly ironic indictment of the banal insularity and intolerance that characterises, or so Clowes dared to suggest, vast swathes of Middle America. I'm not surprised that Matt Groening, creator of The Simpsons, which has a similar aura of suburban desperation about it, repeatedly says it's his favourite comic book.
Just thought 8 Ball will be read by 5 of my friends, and you know, that will be it. And at least I'll have, you know, copies of a comic I did when I was 25 years old. And of course, you know, that was the thing everybody responded to, because it was honest, and it had something that other people weren't really saying. I think it was something everybody was sort of uncomfortable with.
Clowes said of 8 Ball that he wasn't filtering himself at all. He was very depressed, and he drew the angriest, most obsessive stuff that came into his head.
I got more and more alienated as I got older in my teenage years. I mean, I think everybody is an alienated teenager. In a certain way, I wasn't miserable because I was really interested in what I was doing. I was spending hours every day drawing. It wasn't like I was just sitting at home smoking dope or something. I wasn't like, you know, that kind of depressed. But I did feel very much, you know, out of the culture, and it got worse and worse as I got older. But then I think I learned ways to sort of push the anger into, you know, more into the character and into the, you know, the way the stories are told. I think, you know, I get it out of my system in the comics.
This sense of anger is something he traces back to his troubled childhood. He says, "Yes, I remember myself as a kid, and I still do feel bitter."
My brother left me this huge stack of comics. He was 10 years older than me, and that was my only source of entertainment in my room. I would always draw these very kind of distorted, weird, ugly faces, and my mom would always say, you know, why don't you ever make any of your people attractive? And well, why would I want to do that? What's the fun in that?
I doubt Clowes would be the artist he is if he'd had a happy childhood. I think it incubated his talent to spend years pretty much alone in a semi-permanent teenage fug. Apart from anything else, it gave him time to develop drawing technique. And there's no replacement for hours, days, years of practice.